Hey guys, Gabriel here. Today I want to talk to you about how to finally get your avoidant to admit that they are avoidant. Because I've spoken to a lot of you guys in coaching calls, or I hear from our students in the emails that are dealing with situations where their clearly avoidant partner is not admitting that they are avoidant or that they have an issue. And this is such a reoccurring theme over and over again that I think it's really important to address and help you guys figure out how to navigate this in a way where you can get them to finally say, yes, I'm avoidant, or there are things I need to work on. So, first, let's paint the picture a little bit, right? You likely recently, or maybe even a while ago, have learned about attachment styles. You have read a lot of articles, watched videos, maybe even taken some programs, and understand that you are most likely securely or anxiously attached. Meanwhile, your partner is on the avoidance spectrum. They may be more fearful or dismissive, avoidant nonetheless. Now, you guys have probably been doing the anxious avoidant dance for quite a while now. Your relationship might have started off really great, where they initially didn't actually show any signs of being avoidantly attached. Everything seemed fine, you were both on the same page, maybe even wanted the same things to whatever extent. But as time has gone by now, and this may be months or even years, the cracks are beginning to show, right? You sense that your avoidant partner is pulling away a bit, they're acting a bit differently, they're maybe not fully in the way they previously were. I know for some of you guys, they never were in fully, and there was this constant dance of them pulling away every few weeks or months and reestablishing this distance. In extreme cases, it can even be such that they don't even want a label of boyfriend, girlfriend, or relationship, and they keep it in this limbo of no labels, or it's a situationship of sorts. They might even go as far as to say you're friends with benefits, which of course is very hurtful and not okay when you're clearly a lot more emotionally invested, and they are as well, right? They are relating to you like a girlfriend or a boyfriend, not like a casual hookup that happens from time to time. So, regardless of where you fall on this spectrum, whether it's an avoidant that doesn't want any labels, is super distant, and you might have very intense emotional connection for a few days and then they disappear for weeks or months at a time, or you've been in a steady relationship, maybe even for a few years, it's still not working for you, right? In one way, shape, or form. And you likely at this point have attributed that to avoidant attachment, their avoidant attachment. Now, it's often really typical with people that are anxiously attached or somebody that is dealing with an avoidant is that they want to help, right? That's the first response. And you might go above and beyond, right? You might be really supportive, super patient, like to a point where people in your life are saying they're not worth it, they don't deserve you, because you are really giving it your everything to try and make this work. And you're willing to listen and to come their way and understand their situation because you feel like this connection is special. And you're probably here because you feel like you've exhausted all options and it just has not worked. And ultimately are still struggling with your avoidant partner not seeing that there's a problem on their side, not seeing that they are being avoidant, that they are maybe being dismissive or fearful. And I know some of you guys take so much responsibility that you are suggesting books for them to read, courses for them to take, maybe even recommending our videos for them to watch, or saying you need to go to therapy or we can do couples counseling. So there's this really extreme taking care of them, putting the focus on them, trying to help them finally come through. Now let's talk about how your avoidant reacts to all of this, which is it probably doesn't work. In fact, the harder you've been pushing, the more you've been trying, the more they've been withdrawing, the more their walls have gone up, they might be more distant, and this can also escalate to a breakup where they then say, I just can't give you what you want, I can't make you happy, or some generic excuse that our coaching clients receive from their avoidant partners all the time. And when it reaches this point, of course, it causes immense suffering. A lot of the coaching clients I work with that are stuck in this kind of situation are people that are actually very driven. They're very pragmatic, they're very good at organizing, at taking responsibility and making things happen, making things move forward. Now, that in the context of a relationship can mean they are taking care of the household, they are making sure that the finances are in order, they're making sure that they have a social life, right? That you go out and mingle with people, and even planning in terms of let's have a house at some point, let's have kids. How are we going to do this? Let's look at the finances. How can we make this happen? And they're often the type to already be in therapy and have read personal growth books and be aware of attachment styles, conflict styles, and so on. So they're quite on top of their game. Meanwhile, the avoidant partner is somebody that's not willing to take anywhere near as much responsibility. Maybe for their career, maybe for a certain aspect of their life, but they're not ready to make these steps. They're not ready to buy a house together, or they don't want children or marriage. They're somewhere on the fence. And throughout the relationship, the anxious partner is often trying to close that gap to get the reassurance that they are on the same page, that they want the same thing, because they're seeking a sense of security and stability from their avoidant partner. But the avoidant partner often answers with more distance, more hesitation, more indecision, and withdrawal, which can make the anxious person try even harder. And so the cycle goes. So now I want to talk about the reality of the situation and why this does not work, why your approach is not working. And in order to explain that, I want to share a bit of my own story with Carolina, my wife, who runs this channel with me. You see, when we started out, I was actually, despite being the avoidant, the kind of person to be more into personal growth, read books, attend workshops, that kind of thing. And my character was one of having more confidence and certitude when it came to all of this kind of relationship stuff, right? Emotions, communication, how to navigate all of this. Carolina at the time was more shy. She was more unsure of herself. So what this resulted in was a dynamic where I would try help her come out of her shell, help her communicate, help her connect, and make all these efforts, which ultimately resulted in quite a lot of pushing on my side to finally have my needs met and what I wanted from her. Now, I had good intentions, right? I wanted this relationship to work. That's why I was doing it. But regardless of that, the narrative I was putting forward, knowingly or not, was that she needed to do something so that we could fix this problem, right? It was something about her behavior that needed to be adjusted, and that I saw something she didn't, that I maybe even knew better. Ironically, therein lied the very problem that was keeping us distant, that was having me not have my needs met. Now, it took me a long time to understand this, but my efforts were actually pretty misguided because I was putting so much focus on her, on what she needed to change, the support she needed, the help she needed, that I wasn't paying attention to what I needed to change. What about me needed to be adjusted and fixed so that I could have my needs met? And this is the very reason things for a very long time, and I mean years, did not work between Carolina and myself. Because I had all the focus on what she needed to change about her behavior so that we could finally be happy together. If only she did this, if only she did that slightly differently, we wouldn't have this problem. And yes, this is where we tie it all back right to you, because there's a really good chance you're in the same headspace. You believe you have things more figured out than your avoidant partner. And although that might be true to some extent, to a certain degree, because you are informed, because you read more, because you've dealt with all of this stuff for a longer time, there's a trap in that attitude. When we believe we have something more figured out than our partner, we are blind to our own behaviors, to our own limitations and flaws. And this is the message I really want to get across in this video. If you are focused on trying to help your partner and support them and fix them, they're only going to put up more walls and more barriers. Why? Because you are essentially communicating, willingly or not, that they are broken, that they need to be adjusted, that they need to be fixed, and they need to step up to your level. And this is where I'm going to break it to you. You're not perfect. You have flaws. And this is a realization I had to come to myself at some point to say, hey, I've got issues too. I don't see it all. I haven't got it all figured out. There are things Carolina sees that I don't, that maybe she can't communicate to me, or I'm not willing to hear because I have this narrative that she's the one that needs fixing. And that's the trouble with avoidant attachment style labels, is that people tend to pigeonhole the avoidants and say they are the problem, they are the difficult one. And it's not to say avoidants are not difficult and are not a problem. They most certainly are. But anxious people have their own traits that also contribute to this cycle. So in order to break this cycle and finally solve it, it is super important that you put an equal amount of emphasis on things you need to change about yourself, things you might not be seeing, your own emotional blind spots. And I guarantee you, you have them. Everybody does. We are all human beings. We are all deeply flawed. And that's okay. When we're trying to be perfect and have above human levels of performance or the perfect relationship, that stems from a deep wound of believing making mistakes is just not an option, that you always have to be right. And it's a trap I find a lot of our female students and clients fall into, where there is this impossible expectation on how they have to be and perform in the world and their relationships. And I think it's high time we take that pressure off and say, you don't have to be perfect. It's okay to have flaws. It's okay to be human. And this is what I coach my clients on a lot that are with avoidant partners. I tell them, you are the one that needs to also be vulnerable. You are the one that needs to also take a risk and show that you're not perfect, that you have not got it all figured out. And this is often the breaking point for an avoidant, where they say, oh, you're willing to relate to me like a person that's on an equal playing field to you, not somebody that's broken and needs to be fixed and helped and supported to a point where they just feel increasingly broken, right? So you coming their way and saying, it's not just you, it's me too. I have issues, I have problems, is what creates this bridge where you're like, we're just two people. Yes, you're avoidant. Yes, I'm anxious, or whatever it might be, but we're trying to connect as a team. So you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. Nobody does. My wife and I do this professionally, and there are still things we learn every single day. There's always more growth that's possible. So I've already jumped ahead a little here in talking about what the alternative approach is, but I think you get the idea. You need to level the playing field. You need to relate to your avoidant as a human being who's also flawed and has things they do wrong, and take ownership of that, take responsibility for that, and not try to have control of the situation and be the parent or be the authority. You have to relate to them as an equal. So try and be vulnerable. Stop trying to fix your avoidant. The more you put the focus on trying to fix them, the more they are feeling like you're telling them they're just broken. And that's when they reach the point and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't make you happy. I can't give you what you want, and so on, right? Because they just feel like it's never going to work. It's never good enough. Come their way. Be vulnerable, admit your flaws, take ownership and responsibility for the areas where you know you could do better. I'm sure your avoidant has either told you or signaled it to you in some way, shape, or form. Now, in conclusion, I also want to add, once you reach this point of leveling the playing field, your avoidant is going to be far more willing to accept all of your support and help. Because it's not like they don't need it. It is something they actually deeply appreciate and crave. They know they need it, but the terms and conditions need to change. It's not, I'm so broken, save me. It's, we're so broken, let's do this together. Because you wouldn't be with your avoidant if they weren't giving you something that you felt was helping you along the way, right? You have your own growth, your own path. So allow them to contribute to you and you to them. It becomes a very easy dialogue at that point, rather than a constant battle for you need to address certain problems. Now, I get that this is a more general take on the avoidant and anxious dynamic and the trap, but there are, of course, more nuanced cases or factors that I haven't covered here, whether it's external, like family or friends influencing, if it's about finances or kids or going through a divorce, right? There are a lot of layers that can be added that complicate things. So if you find yourself in a situation that you believe needs that additional touch, please don't hesitate to book a one-on-one coaching call with me where we'll figure it out together, right? We'll take it apart. I want to hear your story. I want to know what happened, when, and why. And then we can talk about solutions to draw your avoidant partner in closer. It might involve a lot of what we talked about here. It will probably involve other things too. And if you found this video helpful, please do give it a like, subscribe if you want to hear more from us. And if you think you might be struggling in applying some of what I've talked about here, be sure to check out my wife's video next. She actually talks about the lies anxious people tell themselves and their avoidant partners, which covers a lot of this in a bit more depth, because it's also about acknowledging your own limits. Check it out right here. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.